Admiral Tejo stood on the bridge of his ship, the Eternal Dawn, and watched the stars pass by through the large window. He was an old man now, with gray hair and tired eyes. But his mind was still sharp, and his heart still burned with love for his people. Today was supposed to be a good day. His daughter, Ji-young, had sent him a message from Hana 7, the colony where she lived with her husband and 2 children. She told him about the flowers blooming in their garden. She told him about how his grandchildren were growing so fast. She promised to visit him soon. Tejo had smiled when he read that message. He had saved it on his personal device so he could read it again later. He missed his family very much. The life of an admiral meant he spent most of his time in space, far from the people he loved. The communication officer, a young woman named Haijin, suddenly looked up from her station. Her face was pale. "Admiral," she said. Her voice was shaking. "We are receiving an emergency signal from Hana 7. Tejo felt his heart stop for a moment. "Put it on the main screen," he ordered. The screen flickered to life. At first, there was only static. Then the image became clear, and Tejo felt his whole world fall apart. Hana 7 was burning. The beautiful colony, home to 2 million humans, was covered in fire and smoke. Ships with strange markings flew above the city, dropping bombs and firing weapons at everything below. Buildings collapsed. People ran through the streets, screaming for help that would never come. "The Valrath," whispered Lieutenant Dongwook, who stood beside Tejo. "Those are Valrath warships." Tejo could not speak. He could only watch as everything he loved was destroyed. He thought of Ji-young. He thought of her husband, Seung-ho. He thought of his grandchildren, little Min, tiny Hana, who was only 3 years old. Were they running through those burning streets right now? Were they calling for help? Were they already dead? The transmission cut off. The screen went black. The bridge was silent. "How long until we can reach Hana 7? Tejo asked. His voice was calm, but his hands were shaking. Haijin checked her instruments. Tears were falling down her face. 12 hours, Admiral. 12 hours. Tejo knew that in 12 hours, there would be nothing left to save. He was right. When the Eternal Dawn finally arrived at Hana 7, the Valrath ships were gone. They had finished their work and left. The colony was silent. The fires had burned themselves out. All that remained was ash and death. 2 million people. Gone in a single day. Tejo led the search teams himself. He walked through the ruins of the city where his daughter had lived. He found her house, or what was left of it. The walls had collapsed. The garden was burned. The flowers his daughter had been so proud of were nothing but black stems sticking out of the ground. They found Ji-young's body in the basement. She'd been hiding there with her children, trying to protect them. It had not been enough. Tejo knelt beside his daughter's body. He did not cry. He did not scream. He simply sat there, holding her cold hand, and made a promise. The Valrath would pay for this. They would pay with everything they had. 3 days later, Tejo stood before the Galactic Council on their space station at the center of the galaxy. Representatives from 100 different species filled the Great Hall. Some had scales. Some had fur. Some had bodies that humans could barely understand. All of them looked at Tejo with expressions that ranged from curiosity to boredom. "The Valrath Dominion has committed an act of war against humanity," Tejo said. His voice echoed through the hall. "They attacked a peaceful colony without warning. They killed 2 million innocent civilians. We demand justice." The Valrath representative, a tall creature with blue skin and 4 arms, stood up from his seat. His name was Vethkor, and he was known for his cruel smile. He was smiling now. "Justice?" Vethkor said. "Humans have only been part of this galaxy for 200 years. You are children. Hana 7 was built in space that belongs to the Dominion. We simply reclaimed what was ours. That colony was approved by this council, Tejo said. You murdered children. You burned families alive. Is this what the Dominion calls justice? Vethkor shrugged with all four of his arms. Humans are weak. You have no real military. You have no power. What will you do about it? Complain? Cry? This is how the galaxy works, human. The strong take what they want. The weak accept their fate. Tejo looked around the hall. He saw the faces of the other representatives. Some looked uncomfortable. Most looked indifferent. A few were even nodding in agreement with Vethkor. Will the council act? Tejo asked. Will you punish the Volrath for their crimes? The council chairman, an ancient being made of living crystal, spoke in a voice like breaking glass. The council has reviewed this situation. We have decided that this is a matter between humanity and the Volrath Dominion. We will not interfere. You will not interfere, Tejo repeated. 2 million dead, and you will not interfere. Correct, the chairman said. Humanity is a minor species. The Volrath Dominion is a major power. We must consider the balance of the galaxy. Vethkor laughed. It was an ugly sound. You see, human? No one cares about your dead. No one will help you. Go home, lick your wounds, and learn your place in this galaxy. Tejo stood very still for a long moment. Everyone in the hall watched him, waiting to see what the weak human would do. Would he beg? Would he threaten? Would he cry? Tejo did none of these things. Instead, he simply nodded. I understand, he said. Humanity understands. We know our place now. He turned and walked out of the hall. Behind him, he could hear Vethkor laughing again. He could hear other representatives joining in. They thought it was funny. They thought humans were nothing. They were wrong. Commander Yuna was waiting for Tejo outside the council hall. She was a tall woman with short black hair and eyes like ice. She had served under Tejo for 20 years. She was the best officer he had ever known. What did they say? Yuna asked. They said no, Tejo replied. They called us weak. They laughed at us. Yuna's face did not change. And now? Tejo stopped walking. He looked out through a window at the stars. Somewhere out there, the Volrath were celebrating their victory. They thought they had gotten away with murder. They thought humans would simply accept their fate. Now we show them what humans really are, Tejo said. Send the signal to Earth. Send it to every human colony, every human ship, every human everywhere in this galaxy. What signal, Admiral? Tejo turned to face her. His eyes were no longer tired. They were burning with a fire that Yuna had never seen before. War, he said. Total war. No mercy. No surrender. We will make the Volrath pay for every single life they took. We will make the galaxy remember this day forever. Yuna nodded. She pulled out her communication device and began typing. The message was simple. Just one word, war, within hours. That message reached every corner of human space. It reached the colonies and the ships. It reached the factories and the military bases. It reached the ears of every single human being in the galaxy. And humanity answered. On Earth, the president addressed the people. They called us weak, she said. They killed our families. They laughed at our pain. Today, we show them the truth. Today, humanity goes to war. On the colony of New Sol, young men and women lined up at recruitment centers. They were farmers and teachers, doctors and engineers. Now they were soldiers. On the military base at Jupiter Station, Commander Hyan received his orders and smiled. He had been waiting for this moment for a long time. Finally, he whispered. Finally, we fight back. The galaxy did not notice these things. The other species were too busy with their own affairs. The Velrith were too busy celebrating. No one paid attention to the small, weak humans. That was their first mistake. Back on the council station, Vethkor hosted a party for his friends and allies. They drank expensive drinks and ate rare foods. They told jokes about the crying human admiral. They laughed at the idea of humanity going to war. What will they do? One of Vethkor's friends asked. Throw rocks at us? They will probably send a strongly worded letter, another said, and everyone laughed. Vethkor raised his glass. To the Velrith Dominion, he said, the strongest power in the galaxy. No one can challenge us, especially not the pathetic humans. Everyone cheered and drank. Far away, in the dark spaces between stars where no one ever looked, something was happening. Ships were gathering. Not just a few ships. Thousands of ships. Tens of thousands of ships. Humanity had been in the galaxy for 200 years. Everyone thought they were weak because they had never fought a war. Everyone thought they were peaceful because they had never shown their military. But the truth was different. The truth was that humanity had been watching, learning, preparing. They had built their ships in secret, in places where no one would find them. They had trained their soldiers where no one would see them. They had developed weapons that no one knew about. Humanity had always known that the galaxy was dangerous. They had always known that someday someone would attack them. They had been getting ready for that day for 200 years. Now that day had come. Admiral Tejo returned to his ship and looked at the reports coming in from all of human space. Factories were working at full speed. Ships were launching by the hundreds. Soldiers were training day and night. He thought of his daughter. He thought of his grandchildren. He thought of the 2 million people who had died on Hana 7. We are coming, he said quietly, looking out at the stars. We are coming, and only 6 months passed after the attack on Hana 7. In that time, the galaxy moved on. Other wars were fought. Other treaties were signed. Other scandals filled the news channels. The death of 2 million humans became old news, then forgotten news, then no news at all. The Velrith Dominion was pleased with how things had turned out. Their power had grown. Their enemies feared them more than ever. And the humans? The humans had done nothing. Just as everyone expected. Veth-Kor, the Velrith representative, often bragged about this to his friends. I told you they were weak, he would say. They made some noise about war, but look at them now. Quiet as mice. They know they cannot fight us. The other species agreed. Humans were soft. Humans were peaceful. Humans did not have the strength to fight a real war. They were all very wrong. In the dark spaces between stars, where no trade routes passed and no eyes watched. Captain Hyan stood on the bridge of his ship and looked at the fleet before him. It was the largest fleet ever built by human hands. 20,000 warships floated in perfect formation. Each one was painted black, with no light showing, invisible against the darkness of space. They had been gathering here for months, slipping away from their hiding places one by one. Status report, Hyan ordered. His first officer, a young man named J1, checked his instruments. All ships are present and ready, Captain. Weapons are charged. Crews are prepared. We are waiting for your command. Hyan nodded slowly. He was a patient man. He had spent 30 years in the human military, working in secret, building this fleet ship by ship. Most of the galaxy did not even know this fleet existed. That was exactly how humanity wanted it. And the other fleets? Hyan asked. Fleet 2 is in position near the Velrith border, J1 replied. Fleet 3 is hidden in the asteroid field at coordinate 773. Fleet 4 is standing by in the outer rim. Total force, 62,000 warships. 62,000 warships. The Velrith Dominion had about 40,000 ships in their entire navy. They thought they were the strongest military power in the galaxy. They had no idea. On the colony of New Mars, Intelligence Officer Yumbai sat in her office and studied the screens in front of her. Each screen showed different information: trade routes, ship movements, communication patterns, military bases. Bai knew more about the Velrith Dominion than most Velrith knew about themselves. She had been studying them for 15 years. She had sent spies into their territory. She had hacked their networks. She had stolen their secrets. Now all that information was being put to use. The Velrith have a weakness, she said to the officers gathered around her. They are arrogant. They believe no one can threaten them, so they do not guard their borders properly. Their fleet is spread across their territory, defending against enemies that no longer exist. If we strike fast, at multiple points, they will not be able to respond in time. General Daesung, the commander of all human military forces, studied the maps on the screen. He was an old soldier, born on Earth, raised in war simulations that humanity had hoped would never be needed. "Show me the targets," he said. Bai pressed a button. 12 systems appeared on the map, marked in red. These are the key points of Velrith power. Their main shipyards, their fuel depots, their communication centers. If we destroy these 12 systems at the same time, their navy will be blind, deaf, and unable to move. They will be helpless. Daesung looked at the map for a long time. How many Velrith will die? Military personnel only, Yunbai said. We have identified all civilian areas. Our ships will avoid them. We are not like the Velrith. We do not kill children. Daesung nodded. Good. Humanity does not make war on innocents. He turned to his staff officers. Begin final preparations. We attack in 3 days. The orders went out across human space, carried by secret channels that no one else could detect. Ships began to move. Soldiers checked their weapons. Pilots ran final tests on their fighters. And still, the galaxy noticed nothing. On the council station, the representatives from 100 species went about their daily business. They argued about trade deals and border disputes. They made speeches about peace and cooperation. They ignored the small human delegation that sat quietly in the corner, saying nothing. Doing nothing. The Velrith representative, Vethkor, passed by the human ambassador one day and stopped to mock him. Still here? Vethkor said with a cruel smile. I thought your people would have gone home by now. What is the point of staying? No one listens to humans. The human ambassador, a middle-aged woman named So Young, looked up at Vethkor with calm eyes. We are here to observe, she said simply. Observe what? Your own weakness? Vethkor laughed. Go home, human. You do not belong here. So Young said nothing. She just smiled a small, strange smile that made Vethkor feel uncomfortable for a reason he could not understand. He walked away, shaking off the feeling. It was the last time he would ever speak to her face to face. Back in the hidden fleet, Captain Hyan received the final orders from General Daesung. He read them carefully, then called his crew together. In 3 days we attack, he told them. We will strike the Velrith shipyards at Keth-4. At the same moment, 11 other fleets will strike 11 other targets. The Velrith will have no time to react, no time to call for help, no time to understand what is happening. The crew listened in silence. Many of them had lost family on Hannah 7. Many of them had been waiting for this moment for a long time. Remember why we fight, Hyan continued. Remember the 2 million who died. Remember the children who never had a chance to grow up. Remember the laughter of the Velrith when we asked for justice. This is not about revenge. This is about making sure it never happens again. This is about showing the galaxy that humanity will not be victims. A young pilot named Sujin raised her hand. Captain, what if the galaxy sees us as aggressors now? What if they unite against us? Hyam considered the question. They might, he admitted. But they will also learn to respect us, to fear us. And that fear will protect humanity for generations to come. No one will ever attack our colonies again. No one will ever kill our families and laugh about it. That is worth any price. The crew nodded. They understood. This was not a war of conquest. This was a war of survival. A war to prove that humanity had the right to exist in this galaxy. On Earth, the president met with her military advisors for the final time before the attack. They sat in a secure room deep underground, surrounded by screens showing the positions of human fleets across the galaxy. Are we ready? The president asked. General Daesung nodded. As ready as we will ever be. Our fleets are in position. Our soldiers are prepared. The moment we give the order, 12 systems will fall within hours. And what about the Council? What about the other species? They do not know, Daesung said. No one knows. We have kept this secret for 200 years. Our ancestors started building this military when we first entered the galaxy. They knew this day would come. They prepared for it. The president looked at the screens. She thought about all the lives that would be lost in the coming days. Vorith lives mostly, but human lives too. War always had a cost, but she also thought about Hanasan. She thought about the 2 million dead. She thought about what would happen if humanity did nothing. More attacks, more deaths, more laughter from species who thought humans were weak. Give the order, she said. Daesung picked up his communication device. He typed a single word and sent it to every human fleet in the galaxy. Now. In the dark spaces between stars. 20,000 ships began to move. Their engines glowed blue as they accelerated toward their targets. Captain Hyan stood on his bridge and watched the stars begin to blur. All ships, report, he ordered. The reports came in one by one. Every ship was ready. Every crew was prepared. Every weapon was charged and waiting. At the same moment, across the galaxy, 11 other fleets began their own attacks. They moved in perfect coordination, guided by plans that had been made years ago and practiced 1,000 times. The Velrith saw nothing. Their sensors detected nothing. Their guards noticed nothing. They were too busy feeling safe. Too busy feeling powerful. Too busy laughing at the weak humans who would never dare to fight back. They were about to learn the truth. In the Keth system, the Velrith shipyards floated in orbit around a gas giant. These shipyards built half of all Velrith warships. They were protected by a defense fleet of 50 ships and a dozen battle station. It was not enough, Captain. Hyan's fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel right on top of the shipyards. One moment, space was empty. The next moment, 20,000 human warships filled the darkness. The Velrith defenders did not even have time to raise their shields. All ships. Fire, Hyan ordered. The human fleet opened fire with everything they had. Missiles streaked across space. Energy beams cut through shields and armor. The Velrith defense fleet was destroyed in the first 30 seconds. The battle stations lasted another minute. Then they too were gone. The shipyards came next. Hyan watched as human ships systematically destroyed every factory, every dock, every storage facility. Velrith workers tried to escape in small shuttles, and human ships let them go. They were not here to kill civilians. They were here to destroy the Velrith ability to make war. In 2 hours. The news spread across the galaxy like fire. At first, no one believed it. The reports seemed impossible. Human fleets appearing out of nowhere. Velrith systems burning. The greatest military power in the region brought to its knees in a single day. It had to be a mistake. It had to be exaggeration. Humans could not do this. But as more reports came in, from independent observers and fleeing Velrith ships, the truth became undeniable. Humanity had struck, and they had struck hard. General Daesung stood in the command center on Earth, watching the reports flow in. 12 systems attacked. 12 systems destroyed. Half the Velrith Navy eliminated in 6 hours. 0 human ships lost. "It worked," said Colonel Yun-ho, who stood beside him. "It actually worked." "Of course it worked," Daesung replied. "We have been planning this for 200 years. Every weakness was identified. Every target was studied. We knew exactly where to hit them and how hard to hit them. On the screens, images showed the destruction. Velrith shipyards reduced to floating metal. Fuel depots burning in the cold of space. Communication stations silent and dark. The Velrith Dominion was blind, hungry, and unable to coordinate their remaining forces. "What is the status of their remaining fleet?" Daesung asked. An analyst checked his data. "Scattered across their territory. Without their communication network, they cannot organize. Each ship is acting alone, not knowing what the others are doing. They are in chaos. Good. That is exactly what we wanted." Daesung turned to his officers. "Begin Phase 2. Send our fleets deeper into Velrith space. I want their core world surrounded within the week." The orders went out. Human ships moved forward, pushing into territory that no enemy had ever invaded. The Velrith defenders fought back where they could, but without coordination, without resupply, without reinforcements. They were simply delaying the inevitable on the Velrith homeworld. The Emperor received the news with disbelief. He was an old creature, covered in scales that had turned gray with age. He had ruled the Dominion for a century. He had never known defeat. How is this possible? He demanded. "Humans have no military. Our intelligence said they were weak." His advisors looked at each other nervously. No one wanted to speak. Finally, the intelligence minister stepped forward. "It appears our intelligence was wrong, Emperor. The humans have been building their military in secret for generations. They hid their ships in regions of space we never thought to watch. They trained their soldiers in simulations we never detected. We did not know because they did not want us to know. They tricked us," the Emperor said slowly. "Yes, Emperor. They let us believe they were weak. They let us attack their colony. They let us laugh at them. And all that time, they were preparing for this." The Emperor sat in silence for a long moment. He thought about his ancestors, who had built the Dominion through strength and conquest. He thought about all the species they had defeated over the centuries. No one had ever done to the Velrith what the humans were doing now. "Call back our fleets," he ordered. "Every ship we have. Pull them back to defend the homeworld. Emperor, if we do that, we will lose all our outer territories. I do not care about the outer territories. I care about survival. Bring our ships home, now." The order went out, but it was already too late. Human fleets had positioned themselves along the main routes back to the Velrith homeworld. When the Velrith ships tried to retreat, they flew right into human ambush. Captain Hyan commanded one of these ambush forces. He waited in the darkness near a major hyperspace lane, his ships hidden among asteroids with their systems powered down. "Contact," reported his sensor officer. "Velrith fleet incoming. 32 ships. "Wait," Hyan ordered. "Let them get closer." The Velrith ships flew past, unaware of the danger. They were damaged from previous battles, running low on fuel, desperate to reach home. Now, Hyan said 20 human ships emerged from hiding and opened fire. The Velrith formation scattered, but there was nowhere to run. Human missiles found their targets with perfect accuracy. Velrith ships exploded one by one. In 10 minutes, It was over. The Valrath fleet was destroyed. Human losses, 0. Continue to the next position, Hyan ordered. There will be more coming. He was right. Over the next 3 days, human ambush destroyed 47 Valrath fleets trying to retreat to their homeworld. The few ships that made it through arrived damaged and demoralized on the Galactic Council station. The representatives watched these events with growing fear. They had never seen anything like this. A species they had dismissed as weak was tearing apart one of the galaxy's great powers. "We must do something," said the representative from the Torath Confederacy. "If the humans defeat the Valrath completely, they will be the most powerful force in the region." "Do what?" asked the representative from the Methane Collective. "Fight them ourselves? Did you not see what they did to the Valrath? They destroyed half a navy in 6 hours. 6 hours. Who among us could stand against that?" The council chairman called for order. "We will discuss options. Perhaps we can negotiate with the humans. Perhaps we can convince them to stop." "Negotiate?" The Torath representative shook his head. "We told them to accept their fate when they came to us for help. We laughed at them. Why would they listen to us now?" No one had an answer. Ambassador So Young returned to the council chamber that day. She walked in calmly and took her usual seat in the corner. Every eye in the room turned to her. The chairman spoke first. "Ambassador, we would like to discuss the current situation with humanity and the Valrath Dominion." So Young nodded politely. "Of course. What would you like to discuss?" "We would like to propose a ceasefire, an end to the conflict. The Valrath have been punished enough for their attack on your colony. Surely humanity can be satisfied now." So Young tilted her head slightly. "Satisfied? You think we should be satisfied? You have destroyed half their navy. You have burned their shipyards. You have proven your strength. What more do you want?" "Justice," So Young said simply. "The Valrath killed 2 million of our people. They attacked our colony without warning, without mercy. They burned our children alive. And when we came to this council asking for help, you told us to accept our fate. You told us we were weak. You laughed at our pain." The chamber was silent. "Now you ask us to stop?" So Young continued. "Now you want to negotiate? Where was this concern when our people were dying? Where was this desire for peace when Vethkor was mocking us in this very chamber?" No one answered. "Humanity will stop when we are ready to stop," So Young said. "Not before. This is the lesson you are teaching us. The strong do what they want. The weak accept their fate. Well, we are strong now, and we will do what we want." She stood up and walked out of the chamber. No one tried to stop her. On the edge of Valrath space, Admiral Tejo looked at the tactical display on his ship. Human forces were advancing on all fronts. The Valrath were collapsing faster than expected. Their government was in chaos. Their military was in ruins. But Tejo felt no joy. He thought about his daughter every day. He thought about his grandchildren. Destroying the Valrath would not bring them back. Nothing would bring them back. Commander Yuna entered the bridge. "Admiral, we have received a transmission from the Valrath Emperor. He wants to talk." "Talk about what?" "Surrender terms, I believe." Tejo considered this. "Tell him he can talk to General Daesung." "I am not interested in his words." "Yes, Admiral." Yuna paused. "Are you all right, sir?" Tejo looked out at the stars. "No," he admitted. "I am not all right. I will never be all right again. But I will do my duty. I will finish what we started. And when it is over, I will try to find some kind of peace." Yuna nodded. She understood. Many humans felt the same way. This war was necessary, but it brought no joy to anyone. The Valrath Emperor's message reached General Daesung later that day. It was a long message, full of excuses and justifications. The Emperor blamed Vethkor for the attack on Ha-7. He claimed he had not known about the plan. He begged for mercy. Daesung read the message and threw it away. "Send him our response," he told his staff. "Unconditional surrender." The Emperor steps down. The Dominion gives up all military forces. They pay reparations for every life they took. If they refuse, we continue our advance. The response was sent. The Emperor refused. "Very well," Daesung said. "Continue the attack. Surround their homeworld. Cut off all supplies. If they want to fight to the end, we will give them that fight." Human fleets pushed forward. System after system fell. The Velroth resistance grew weaker by the day. Their ships were running out of fuel. Their soldiers were running out of hope. Pilot Sujin flew mission after mission during those days. She had joined the military after losing her brother on Ha-7. Every Velroth ship she destroyed felt like a small payment toward a debt that could never be fully paid. But sometimes, late at night, she wondered if this was who she wanted to be. A warrior. A killer. She had wanted to be an engineer before the attack. She had wanted to build things, not destroy them. After the war, she told herself, "After the war, I will build again." But for now, there was only the war. And the war continued. The galaxy watched and waited. They saw humanity advance. They saw the Velroth fall. They understood now what kind of mistake had been made. Humans were not weak. Humans were not soft. Humans had simply been patient. They had hidden their strength and waited for the right moment. Now that moment had come, and nothing could stop. The siege of the Velroth homeworld had lasted 2 weeks. Human fleets surrounded the planet in every direction, blocking all ships from entering or leaving. No food came in. No supplies reached the defenders. The Velroth people were slowly starving. Admiral Taiho commanded the siege from his ship, the Eternal Dawn. He watched the planet below, a world of blue oceans and green continents. It looked peaceful from space. Beautiful, even. But he knew that down there, millions of Velroth were suffering. Part of him did not care. These people had cheered when Ha-7 burned. They had celebrated the deaths of human children. They had called humanity weak and laughed at human pain. But another part of him, a smaller and quieter part, felt tired of death. He had seen enough destruction to last 100 lifetimes. He wanted this war to end. "Admiral," said Lieutenant Su Min, approaching with a report, "we have intercepted communications from the Velroth capital. Their government is in chaos. Different factions are arguing about what to do. Some want to surrender. Others want to fight to the death. And the Emperor? He is locked in his palace, refusing to speak to anyone. His own advisors cannot reach him." Taiho nodded slowly. "A broken leader for a broken people. What about Vethkor? Where is he?" Su Min checked her data. "He escaped the homeworld before we completed the blockade. Our intelligence suggests he is on a space station in the outer territories, trying to gather what remains of the Velroth military. Send a ship to find him. I want him captured, not killed. He will answer for what he did." "Yes, Admiral." Su Min left to carry out the order. Taiho returned to watching the planet below. Across the galaxy, the news of the siege spread quickly. Every species with access to communications was watching. They saw human ships surrounding the Velroth homeworld. They saw the greatest military power in the region brought to its knees. They saw what happened when you made humanity angry. On the council station, panic was spreading. Representatives held emergency meetings, trying to decide what to do. Some wanted to send ships to help the Velroth. Others wanted to stay far away from the conflict. A few suggested surrendering to humanity before the humans decided to attack them next. The Velroth representative, a young diplomat who replaced Vethkor, begged the council for help. You must intervene, he pleaded. The humans are going to destroy us. They will kill everyone on our homeworld. You cannot let this happen. The council chairman shook his crystal head. We offered to negotiate a ceasefire. The humans refused. What more can we do? Send your fleets. Attack them while they are focused on us. And start a war with humanity ourselves? The Toroth representative laughed bitterly. Did you not see what they did to your navy? We have no desire to share your fate. But you are supposed to maintain peace in the galaxy. You are supposed to protect member species. We protected you when you were strong, the chairman said coldly. You are no longer strong. The balance of power has shifted. We must adapt to the new reality. The Vorith diplomats stared at the council in disbelief. These beings had been his allies, his friends. Now they were abandoning his people to die. You are cowards, he said. All of you, cowards. He walked out of the chamber, and no one tried to stop him. In the outer territories, Vethkor was trying to build a resistance. He had gathered 50 ships and a few thousand soldiers on an old space station. It was not much, but it was something. We can fight back, he told his officers. We can make the humans pay for what they are doing. His officers looked at him with tired eyes. They had lost friends and family in the human attacks. They had seen their proud dominion reduced to ruins. They did not share Vethkor's confidence. How? Asked one officer. We have 50 ships. They have 60,000. Every time we try to attack, we lose more of our people for nothing. Then we will use other methods, Vethkor said. We will attack their colonies, their civilian ships, their families. We will make them feel the same pain they are causing us. The officers exchanged uncomfortable glances. You want us to attack civilians? Like we did at Hannah 7? Yes, exactly like that. That is what started this war, another officer pointed out. If we attack more civilians, the humans will only become more determined to destroy us. Vethkor slammed his fist on the table. What choice do we have? We cannot fight them directly. We must hurt them any way we can. Before anyone could respond, alarms started blaring throughout the station. Emergency lights flashed red. What is happening? Vethkor demanded. An officer checked his console. Human ships. They found us. 12 vessels approaching fast. 12 ships? Against our 50? Prepare to fight. We can win this. The battle lasted less than 15 minutes. The 12 human ships moved with perfect coordination, targeting Velrith vessels one at a time. Velrith ships tried to fight back, but their weapons could not lock onto the fast-moving human craft. One by one, the Velrith ships were destroyed. When it was over, only the station remained. The human ships surrounded it, weapons ready. A communication came through. It was Commander Yuna speaking from her ship. Attention, Velrith Station. We know Vethkor is aboard. Surrender him to us, and we will let the rest of you live. Refuse, and we will destroy the station with everyone on it. You have 5 minutes to decide. Inside the station, the surviving Velrith looked at Vethkor. He saw fear in their eyes. Fear and something else. Anger. You led us to ruin, one of them said. You attacked the human colony. You started this war. And now you want us to die for you? I am your commander, Vethkor said. You must obey me. No. The officer pulled out a weapon and pointed it at Vethkor. We are done obeying you. Guards, taken to the airlock. Vethkor struggled, but he was surrounded. They dragged him through the corridors of the station as he screamed and cursed. They pushed him into the airlock and sealed the door. You cannot do this to me, Vethkor shouted through the glass. I am the voice of the Velrith Dominion. You are the fool who destroyed the Dominion, the officer replied. Goodbye, Vethkor. They opened the outer door, and Vethkor was pulled into space. His screams lasted only a few seconds before the cold, and the vacuum silenced him forever. A message was sent to the human ships. Vethkor is dead. We surrendered him as you requested. Please, let us live. Commander Yuna received the message and checked her sensors. She could see the frozen body floating away from the station. Confirm the identity, she ordered. A few minutes later, the confirmation came. It was Vethkor. The monster who had ordered the attack on Hana 7 was dead. Yuna felt nothing. No satisfaction. No relief. Just emptiness. She had hoped that killing Vethkor would mean something, that it would bring some kind of closure. But the 2 million dead were still dead. Nothing could change that. Let them go, she told her crew. They kept their word. We will keep ours. The human ships pulled back, and the Volrath station was allowed to leave. It was a small act of mercy in a war that had shown very little. On the Volrath homeworld, the news of Vethkor's death spread quickly. The Emperor heard it in his palace and felt something break inside him. Vethkor had been his friend, his advisor, the one who had convinced him that attacking Hana 7 would show the galaxy how strong the Dominion was. Now Vethkor was dead, and the Dominion was dying. The Emperor called his remaining advisors together. It is over, he told them. We cannot win this war. We must surrender. The humans demanded unconditional surrender, one advisor said. They want you to step down. They want us to give up our military. They want us to pay reparations for generations. I know what they want. The Emperor looked around the room at the faces of beings who had served him for decades. And we will give it to them. What choice do we have? If we continue to fight, they will destroy us completely. At least this way, our people will survive. The surrender message was sent to General Daesung that evening. The Emperor agreed to all terms. He would step down. The Dominion would disarm. Reparations would be paid. In exchange, the humans would lift the siege and allow food and supplies to reach the starving population. Daesung read the message and felt a weight lift from his shoulders. The war was almost over. No more death. No more destruction. Finally, humanity could begin to heal. He sent a response accepting the surrender and ordered the blockade to open. Within hours, supply ships were heading toward the Volrath homeworld. On the council station, the representatives watched the news in silence. The Volrath Dominion had surrendered. Humanity had won. The Torath representative turned to his colleagues. We should have helped them, he said quietly. When the humans first came to us, we should have helped them get justice. None of this would have happened. Perhaps, the chairman agreed. But we cannot change the past. We can only prepare for the future. And what future is that? A galaxy dominated by humanity? No one answered. They all knew the truth. The old order was gone. A new power had risen. And no one knew what that would mean for the galaxy. Lieutenant Suman stood on the bridge of the Eternal Dawn and prepared to send humanity's message to the galaxy. Admiral Tejo had asked her to write it. He said she had a way with words. She had thought about it for a long time before finally knowing what to say. She pressed the button, and her voice went out to every corner of known space. To all S. 1 year had passed since the end of the war. The galaxy was different now. Everyone could feel it. The old ways were gone, replaced by something new. Something that centered on a species that most had once dismissed as weak and unimportant. Admiral Tejo stood on the surface of the Volrath homeworld, looking up at the sky. Human ships patrolled overhead, keeping the peace on a world that had once been the heart of a great empire. Now it was just another planet, trying to rebuild after a war it had started and lost. The former Emperor lived in a small house on the outskirts of the capital city. He had given up his throne, his power, his wealth. All he had left was his life, which the humans had allowed him to keep. Some said it was mercy. Others said it was punishment. Living to see everything you built destroyed was perhaps worse than death. Tejo did not visit the former emperor. He had no interest in speaking to the being whose arrogance had killed his family. Instead, he walked through the streets of the capital, watching the Velrath go about their daily lives. They looked at him with a mixture of fear and curiosity. A human walking freely through their city. Once, they would have laughed at such a sight. Now, they bowed their heads and moved out of his way. This was what victory looked like. Tejo found no joy in it. Commander Yuna found him sitting on a bench in a public garden. Velrath children played nearby, their parents watching nervously. Even the children knew to be afraid of humans now. "Admiral," Yuna said, "the transport is ready. It is time to go home." Tejo nodded but did not stand up. "Do you remember what this galaxy was like before the war?" he asked. "Yes, we were nobody. Species like the Velrath did not even bother to learn our names. They thought we would always be their victims. And now? Now they fear us? Every species in the galaxy knows what we did. They know what we can do." Yuna paused. "Is that not what we wanted?" Tejo thought about it. "I wanted justice for my daughter, for my grandchildren, for the 2 million who died. I wanted the Velrath to pay for what they did." He looked at the playing children. "I never wanted to become the thing I hated. We are not like them," Yuna said firmly. "We did not attack civilians. We did not burn children alive. We fought a clean war against military targets. When they surrendered, we accepted. We are not monsters." "I know, but the galaxy does not see it that way. They see us as the new threat, the new power to fear. We have become what the Velrath were." Yuna sat down beside him. "Perhaps, but there is a difference. The Velrath use their power to hurt the weak. We will use ours to protect them. That is what humanity has always done." Tejo looked at her. "You believe that?" "I have to believe it. Otherwise, what was this all for?" They sat in silence for a while, watching the Velrath children play. Despite everything, children were still children. They laughed and ran and played games, unaware of the history that had shaped their world. Tejo hoped they would grow up in a galaxy where they would never have to fear humans. Where humans and Velrath could live together in peace. It was a fragile hope, but it was all he had. On Earth, celebrations had long since ended. The victory parades were over. The speeches had been made. Now humanity was trying to figure out what came next. President Kim addressed the Global Council on the anniversary of the war's end. She was tired. The war had aged her, but her voice was still strong. "1 year ago, we won a war we never wanted to fight," she said. "We proved to the galaxy that humanity will not be victims. We showed them our strength. Now we must show them something else. We must show them our wisdom." She looked around the room at the faces of leaders from every human nation. "The galaxy fears us now. That fear can protect us, or it can destroy us. If we use our power to bully and threaten, we will make enemies of everyone. Eventually, they will unite against us, and even our strength will not be enough. But if we use our power wisely, we can build something better. We can create alliances based on mutual respect. We can help species that are oppressed. We can be the protectors of the weak, not their oppressors. This is the choice before us. What kind of power will we be? What kind of legacy will we leave? The decision we make now will shape the galaxy for generations to come." The council listened in silence. They knew she was right. Winning the war had been the easy part. Building a lasting peace would be much harder. On the council station, the representatives had learned to treat humans very differently than before. When Ambassador So Young spoke, everyone listened. When she made requests, They were granted. No one laughed at humans anymore. So Young used this new power carefully. She did not make demands or threats. She spoke politely and asked for cooperation. But everyone knew that behind her soft words was the full strength of the human military. The Torath representative approached her after a council session one day. He was nervous, but he forced himself to speak. "Ambassador, I want to apologize for how we treated your people before the war. We should have helped you. We should have stood with you against the Volrath." So Young looked at him calmly. "Yes, you should have. I know we cannot change the past, but I hope we can build a better future. The Torath Confederacy would like to propose an alliance with humanity, a partnership of equals." So Young considered this. Of equals? Interesting choice of words. Are we equals? The Torath swallowed hard. "We would like to be. If you will allow it, we will consider your proposal." So Young turned to leave, then paused. "Tell me something. If we were still weak, would you be offering this alliance?" The Torath opened his mouth, then closed it. He could not lie. They both knew the truth. "That is what I thought," So Young said. "Respect that comes only from fear is not real respect. Perhaps someday you will understand the difference." She walked away, leaving the Torath to think about her words. Captain Hyan had retired from the military after the war. He had done his duty. He had served humanity when it needed him. Now he wanted to rest. He bought a small farm on a quiet colony far from Earth. He grew vegetables and raised animals. He watched the stars at night and tried not to think about all the ships he had destroyed, all the lives he had ended. His daughter, Mi-young, visited him sometimes. She was worried about him. She said he seemed sad. "I am not sad," Hyan told her. "I am just tired. War takes something from you. Something you cannot get back." "You did what you had to do," Mi-young said. "You protected humanity. I know. And I would do it again if I had to. But that does not mean I have to be happy about it." He smiled at his daughter. "Do not worry about me. I have my farm. I have my peace. That is enough." Mi-young hugged him and left. Hyan watched her ship fly away, then went back to his garden. The tomatoes were almost ready to harvest. Simple work. Honest work. It was what he needed. Admiral Taeho finally returned to Earth. He stood at the memorial built for the victims of Hana 7, reading the names carved into the stone. 2 million names. It had taken workers 3 months just to carve them all. He found his daughter's name, Ji-young, beloved daughter, mother, friend. He traced the letters with his finger. "I did what you would have wanted," he whispered. "I made sure it could never happen again. I made sure no one else would lose their family the way I lost you." He stood there for a long time, remembering her laugh, her smile, the way she would call him every week to tell him about the garden, the grandchildren he would never see grow up. The war had given him vengeance, but not peace. He suspected he would never find peace. Some wounds were too deep to heal, but humanity would go on. That was what mattered. Humanity would survive and grow and build a future among the stars. His grandchildren were gone, but other children would live because of what humanity had done. They would grow up safe. They would never know the fear of being weak in a galaxy full of predators. That was his legacy. That was worth the price he had paid. General Daesung, now retired, wrote a book about the war. He called it The Moment We Chose. In it, he explained everything. How humanity had prepared for 200 years. How they had hidden their strength. How they had waited for the day when they would need to reveal it. The book became required reading at military academies across human space. But Daesung always said the most important chapter was the last one. In that chapter, he wrote about what came after the war, about the responsibility that came with power. about the danger of becoming the very thing you fought against. "We won because we were patient," he wrote. "We won because we were prepared. We won because we did not underestimate our enemies. But the real victory is not in winning the war. It is in winning the peace that comes after. The galaxy is watching us. They want to know what kind of species we are. Will we be conquerors or liberators? Will we be tyrants or guardians? The choice is ours. I hope we choose wisely. I hope we remember why we fought. Not for power, not for glory, but for justice, safety, for the right to exist in peace." The moment we chose war was the moment the galaxy realized it was already too late to stop us. Now we must make sure that the same is never said about us. We must be the power that chooses peace whenever possible. We must be the strength that protects the weak. That is what humanity should be. That is what I hope we will become. The book ended there. Dasun died a few years later, peaceful in his bed, surrounded by his family. He was given a hero's funeral, his name added to the rolls of those who had protected